Welcome to Knowledge Book Radio with Marge Potasic. Marge was searching for the purpose of her life and the truth that would tie everything together to make sense of what was taught and what was happening on our planet, the fire that was creating all the smoke. Through many experiences, she was finally led to the knowledge book that provided all the answers. Marge is now talking about this gift to humanity on Knowledge Book Radio, so all can be united in peace, love, and harmony. This live call-in show at 1-800-930-2819 is amazing. So get ready to hear about the Knowledge Book. Here's your host, Marge Potasic.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marge Potasic, and you're listening to the Knowledge Book Radio with Marge Potasic on Transformation Talk Radio. For the next hour, we will continue our series of Omega Talks, and these are usually given at the end of every month as part of the unification program of the Call to Friendship Association mentioned in the Knowledge Book. In these talks, we connect science and spirituality by discussing world knowledge and connecting it to the Omega dimension. Now this, as those who read the Knowledge Book know, is the 19th dimension, and this dimension has been opened up to us through the Knowledge Book for the first time. And this week we are going to be talking about the microbiome. But before we go on, let me just remind you that our website, the United States website, is www.usa.theknowledgebook.net. The Turkish World Brotherhood Union website is www.dkb, that's David Kite Boy Mevlana.org.tr. And my contact info is telephone number or the cell number is 973-787-7035. Email address is mmjp99 Mary John Peter 99 @gmail.com. And the Call to Friendship website is www.calltofriendship.org. So please do email or text me or call me with any questions that you may have that arise from today's topics or from previous shows. And any topics or questions that you may have for topics to be discussed for any future shows are very welcome. So again, USA website, www.usa.theknowledgebook.net. Turkish World Brotherhood Union website is www.dkb-mevlana.org.tr. My cell phone number is 973-787-7035. Email address is mmjp99 @gmail.com. Okay, so let's now delve into the topic of the microbiome. And this, of course, is the topic that for this month from the Call to Friendship Association World Unification Program, and these are part of the Omega Conference series. So, we've always been taught to stay away from germs, always wash our hands, to keep our homes immaculate. Germs are the worst things that could happen to us. We need to, of course, kill anyone that we come in contact with to make sure that we're okay. And because we have been so wary of germs and the havoc they may create in our bodily system, science has developed medications that kill bacteria inside our bodies and has also developed solutions and solvents and lotions to kill bacteria on our skin. Science also has allowed us to sleep on antibacterial sheets and drive cars with antibacterial air circulating systems. But it has now become abundantly clear, and clear as we're going along, that living in a sterile environment leads to allergies and a weakened immune system because we have not been exposed to enough germs to stimulate the growth of the immune system. In fact, by using antibacterial soap, we're actually killing the good bacteria on our skin and allowing the growth and the mutation of bacteria to be even stronger, and therefore not being able for us to be able to kill it off at all. So, contrary to the notion that all bacteria are harmful, science has found that most are beneficial, and in fact, we could not live without them. Do you know that the microbes in your gut can help you get thinner, be happier, and live longer? So this is what we can do to actually help those gut bacteria help us by helping them to be strong and have a varied population of gut bacteria. So what actually lives in our gut? Our gut microbiome is a vast community of trillions of bacteria and fungi that inhabit every nook and cranny of our gastrointestinal tract and have a major influence on our metabolism, body weight, propensity to illness, immune system, appetite, and mood. These microbes mostly live in our lower intestine, or otherwise known as the colon, and outnumber all the other cells in our body put together. So for every one of the cells of our body, we have at least one, if not 10 by some estimates, bacteria or fungi living in us. Conceptually, we can view these microbes as newly discovered organ, weighing slightly more than our brains and nearly as vital. Some have actually called these bacteria our second brain. There are some organs we can live without. So we can live without a spleen, we can live without a gallbladder, without tonsils and an appendix, but we would not be able to survive long without our gut microbiomes. So we are all unique, and that also includes as to what lives in and on us. Because, intriguingly, no two microbiomes are the same. We are all unique, and so is the various combination of microbes that live on and in us. So when we actually touch anything, we leave behind fingerprints. And these are the distinctive swirling patterns of our skin and oils that reveal our identity. You might deposit traces of DNA, which can also be used to identify us, and you leave microbes. You are constantly bleeding microbes onto your surroundings. And whenever you touch something, bacteria hop across from you and from your skin onto the surface of that you've been touching. Now, it has become increasingly clear that everyone has a unique community of microbes, or microbiome, living on their bodies. We share special species and strains, but the exact roll call varies from person to person. So if you take a collection of people, their microbiomes will look very different, but their genomes will look almost exactly the same. And this is a quote from Curtis Hattenhauer from the Harvard School of Public Health. In 2010, Noah Ferrer from the University of Colorado found that bacteria swapped from keyboards and mice matched those on their owner's skins more closely than those from other people. The match wasn't quite accurate, and it's not enough to use for forensic use or forensic identification use. However, that hasn't stopped the producers of CSI from actually, CSI Miami that is, from running with it, meaning they use that as a means of identifying the culprit based on whatever germs were left behind on a surface that the perpetrator actually used. And last year, Simon Lax and Jack Gilbert from the University of Chicago managed to identify people from a pool of 18 volunteers based on the microbes they left behind in their homes. So it is possible to identify people based on the microbiome, but it is not as exact a match as, let's say, fingerprints, or at least they have not been able to specifically narrow down and be accurate enough in the microbiomes they pick up and identify the actual person who left those microbes. Now, of course, these studies are still going on, and they don't match the forensic utility of the human genome or even fingerprints yet, meaning DNA or fingerprints, but we'll see what's going to happen the further along in time we go and the further research that is done. Now, according to research, the richer and more diverse the community of gut microbes are, the lower your risk of disease and allergies. This has been shown in animal tests and also in human studies comparing the microbes of people with and without particular diseases. Examples from recent work at King's College London include studies of diabetes, obesity, allergy, inflammatory diseases like colitis and arthritis. Meanwhile, there is mounting evidence that babies born by cesarean section miss out on some of the microbes they would obtain through a vaginal birth, which may make them more vulnerable to obesity, allergies, and asthma. So, we have now learned that microbiomes are important, that we need to have many of them and a variety of them in our system. But how do we make sure that this is what we have, and how do we get to the point where we are as healthy as we could be because we have as varied and healthy microbiomes in our system? Based on the knowledge book on page 172, I think that's fascicle 12, quote, aloe is very good for liver, gallbladder, and stomach disorders. If you drink sweet marjoram, lemon balm, Melissa officinalis, peppermint, and juniper, great benefits will be obtained. So that's one step in getting a varied and healthy microbiome. And there are other ways of doing this as well. How to restore a healthy gut flora. In order to do exactly that, to increase the good bacteria in our body, we need to make sure that we eat food, because food greatly affects the type of bacteria that live inside you. So the major recommendation is to eat a diverse range of whole foods that you've cooked yourself and increase your fiber to no more than 40 grams per day. And the foods that you choose should be those with high levels of polyphenols. Now, polyphenols are antioxidants that act as fuel for microbes. Examples are nuts, seeds, berries, olive oil, brassicas. These are vegetables like cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, something like that, coffee and tea, and especially green tea. So this will help to make sure that our population of gut flora and fauna is good and varied. There's another way to make sure that we have the proper gut bacteria, and that is by eating foods that are fermented. Because the process of fermentation usually involves bacteria or yeast that convert sugars in the food to organic acids or alcohol. Now, if you're choosing fermented foods, then good choices are unsweetened yogurt, kefir, which is actually another type of yogurt, but it's a sour milk drink with 5 times as many microbes as yogurt, raw milk cheeses, sauerkraut, kimchi, which is a Korean fermented food made from garlic, napa cabbage, and chili, and soybean-based products such as soy sauce, tempeh, and natto. If you're familiar with natto, it smells gross, it's sticky, and it's got these tendrils when you're eating. However, it's the best food you can have for your gut because it has a tremendous amount of bacteria, and again, is fermented. So in Europe, I guess sauerkraut is the fermented food of choice, but we have now lots of other things that are fermented. That you can make seed yogurts, nut yogurts. You can make lots of things from lots of fermented foods from various types of foods. Now, in order to make sure that our gut flora is and stays healthy, we need to keep it away from artificial sweeteners because they have been found to disrupt the metabolism of microbes and reduce gut diversity, which means the artificial sweeteners actually kill off some of the microbes we have in our system, and therefore they are no longer in place to help us. And this was actually found in animal studies, and what they found is that those people who use artificial sweeteners actually gain weight, and it has that use of artificial sweeteners led to obesity and diabetes in animals. And studies in mice and humans show changes in the microbiota from the use of aspartame and other artificial sweeteners. So those of us who used to drink or are still drinking diet sodas, thinking that that'll make us thinner because we're cutting away the sugar, actually that is actually counterintuitively, it is actually making us fatter because it is killing those bacteria in the system that would help to regulate metabolism and our insulin regulation system. So again, in mice and humans, the use of sweeteners cause increased blood sugar and impaired insulin response. So do yourself a favor and do your microbes a favor by staying away from artificial sweeteners. And how do we make sure that we keep the bacteria we have and increase the variety? Well, one way is to increase the use and the eating of prebiotic foods. And this is a non-digestible part of foods like bananas, onions, and garlic, Jerusalem artichoke, skin of apples, chicory root, beans, flax seeds, and many others. Prebiotic fiber goes through the small intestine undigested and is fermented when it reaches the large colon. And it is this fermentation process that feeds the beneficial bacteria colonies, including probiotic bacteria, and helps to increase the number of desirable bacteria in our digestive system that are associated with better health and reduced disease risk. So it is critical for us to make sure that we eat those foods that produce fermentation in our large colon, that then in turn helps us to stay healthy. I've also heard that not bananas, but green bananas are one of the prime sources, also potatoes. And the other side of the coin, besides the vegetables, is to eat as many types of fruit and vegetables as possible and try to eat seasonally. So it turns out that variety may be just as important as the quantities, as the chemicals and types of fiber will vary and each support different microbial species. So variety is the spice of life, is exactly the prescription for eating fruits and vegetables. And this was a surprise for me, because one of the things that cocoa is good for, of course, is making chocolate, but the recommendation is dark chocolate, because dark chocolate might pack a double positive punch for our health, because thanks to the microbes that live in our gut, new research suggests that beneficial bacteria that reside toward the end of our digestive tract ferment both the antioxidants and the fiber in cocoa. And in their deep gut alchemy, these microbes create anti-inflammatory compounds that have been linked to cardiovascular and other benefits from dark chocolate consumption. These findings were presented in March 18, 2014 at the American Chemical Society meeting in Dallas. And other new research helps to explain how some of cocoa's widespread health benefits, from improving vascular function to increasing insulin sensitivity, may be linked and good for even the young and the healthy. So when the fiber in cocoa starts fermenting in our gut, it is able to counteract insulin metabolic processes. In other words, the insulin, our cells become more insulin sensitive, and this allows us to maintain a healthy body weight. And contrary to some of the belief that chocolate is no good for you, it's the chocolate that has so much sugar that is no good for you. However, dark chocolate, and it should be at least 60% cocoa and processed in a non-alkaline way, that is good for us. But there are, organic chocolate that's available. We could eat maybe a cube or one of those squares of chocolate a day, and that has been shown to actually have a good effect on our vascular system and our metabolism. So again, we are encouraged to eat as many types of fruit and vegetables as possible and try to eat seasonally. The Knowledge Book basically says on page 69, quote, "Do not eat unnecessary food. The less you eat meat, the more vigorous you will feel. Obtain your proteins from seafood and milk products. Most of all, prefer apple among fruits." You remember the old adage, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. And to continue, from page 69, eat food rich in potassium to alleviate the stress in your nervous system. Eat just enough to survive. Excess of anything wears out your body. And end quote. Another way of making sure that we have enough gut flora and varied gut flora, the recommendation is to actually spend more time in the countryside. People living in rural areas have better microbes than city dwellers. And while we're at it, dust off your trowel. Gardening and other outdoor activities are good for your microbiome. And another way is to stroke animals. You may not own a cat. You may not have a cat or dog living with you. However, you can pet other people's pets if they're open to that, and go to maybe a zoo or a petting zoo and be able to touch other animals to increase your the variety of gut flora and fauna that you have living within you. And again, this is a biggie. Avoid antibiotics and non-essential medicines. Antibiotics destroy both good and bad microbes, and it can take weeks to recover, so don't take them unless you actually need them. Their use is also associated with obesity and allergies in animals. And even common medications like acetaminophen and antacids can interfere with microbes. So stay away from medicines as much as you can. And of course, the healthier you are, the less you will need the medicine. So it's kind of a self-perpetuating health cycle or disease cycle that you need to eventually either promote or break. Now, what's the connection between the gut and the brain? If this second organ, the biggest organ we have is the skin, of course, but then we have a 4-pound, what they're characterized as our second brain is your gut bacteria. How does that work? So the gut-brain axis is essentially the line of communication between the gut and the brain, which largely determines your gut health as well as our overall brain health and function, including your moods. Now let's go over some things that dictate how the brain and gut communicate. In fact, I have seen some articles that is basically now questioning our free will, because it seems like depending on what we have living in our gut, that dictates what foods we will be drawn to, what foods we will have cravings for. So it seems as if it is our bacteria, our microbiome, that actually dictates what we will be doing and how we will be doing it. So the actual gut-brain axis is the biochemical signaling between the gastrointestinal tract and the central nervous system. The term gut-brain axis is occasionally used to refer to the role of the gut flora in the interplay as well, whereas the term microbiome gut-brain axis explicitly includes the role of a gut flora in the biochemical signaling of events that take place between the GI tract and the central nervous system. So the main communication fiber is the vagus nerve, and this is the major nerve that runs from the base of our brain all the way down to your spine, through the thorax and into your abdomen. Essentially, it controls almost all organ function down from your neck to the second part of your transverse colon. That means that the vagus nerve is automatically regulating all of the autonomous function of the organs there. It's what's causing you to breathe, to sweat, to talk, etc. You can think of it as a major freeway connecting the brain and the gut. Now, this is where the second brain comes in. The enteric nervous system is extremely interesting. It's essentially your second brain. It has the system of about 200 to 600 million neurons in the gut. They have their own ability to be motor neurons and dictate what the gut does outside the brain's control. So if you're trying with your brain to stay calm, however, your gut may be reacting to something completely intrinsic and physical, your brain will not be able to control this. It'll be the enteric nervous system that will control this. Now, to put this into more perspective, if your stomach or your gut recognizes something and can operate completely independently of the brain, the central nervous system governs and runs your whole body, and then the enteric nervous system operates separately from your brain and calls its own shots. So this is the second brain that actually overrides what your brain is giving as instructions. So the knowledge book on page 148 states, you have over 40 chromosomes in each of your cells. The characteristic of these chromosomes is to give commands and instructions to the cell awareness of that cell. Thus, your eyes, your flesh, your bone, and your brain are formed. So this is completely outside of our control, our brain's control, in one way of looking at things. And it is the gut bacteria that are governing this, and the intrinsic essence of the cell that governs what that cell that becomes through the chromosomes. So the gut-brain axis is actually a bidirectional communication. And this is a communication between the gut and the brain, and it's a direct communication. Studies are beginning to show that there's a strong link between the emotional cognitive effects and the overall peripheral nervous system effects of the gut. And this all has to do with the gut-brain axis. We're starting to see some strong evidence of the gut's performance affecting the brain's performance. The vagus nerve, gut-brain axis, and this enteric nervous system is a trifecta that is almost entirely dictating what your body does based on what happens in and what goes on what happens in and what goes into your gut. So those little germs, and thousands and millions of them and trillions of them in our system, actually affects how we live, what we do, and how we do it. And whatever you have in your microbiome actually dictates and indicates lifestyle and health. And this is a quote. Diet is perhaps the biggest factor in shaping the composition of the microbiome, end quote, says Dr. Cryan. A study by University College Cork researchers published in Nature in 2012 followed 200 elderly people over the course of 2 years as they transition into different environments such as nursing homes. What the researchers found was that their subjects' health, whether they were frail, what they're able to cognize, and whatever their immune system was, all correlated with their microbiome. And from bacterial population alone, researchers could tell if a patient was going to be a long or short stay patient in a nursing home or is going to be living in the general community. So, the bacterial microbiota in the gut helps normal brain development, says Dr. Cryan. Quote, if you don't have microbiota, you have major changes in brain structure and function, and then also in behavior, end quote. So what you have or don't have in your gut initially dictates how your brain forms and the areas of the brain that are being developed. So in a pioneering study, a Japanese research team showed that mice raised without any gut bacteria had an exaggerated physical response to stress, releasing more hormone than a mice that had full complement of bacteria. So if you don't have any bacteria, the body's response to stress, the flight or flight hormone becomes very high. However, this could be reduced in bacteria-free mice by repopulating their gut with Bifidobacterium infantis, one of the major symbiotic bacteria found in the gut. So, and conversely, it's also true that the effect could be reproduced of, the body having higher cortisol levels based on response to stress, if they actually kill off the bacteria in their gut. So what they did was they took healthy mice and fed them lactobacillus at the time of gut bacteria, and we showed that these animals had reduced stress response and reduced anxiety-related behaviors. So as long as you have a specific combination of microbes in your gut, then even though you may be in stress, you will not be as stressed. You will not have as much of the cortisol levels in your bloodstream if you have a higher level of these specific bacteria. And even if you don't have these bacteria, you can repopulate your gut with these microbiomes by whatever we said previously in terms of the foods that we eat, the variety of foods that we eat, and the medications we choose not to take. Okay. Now, how can the brain then be manipulated by these gut bacteria? Dr. Emerin Meyer is a professor of medicine and psychiatry at UCLA. That's University of California, Los Angeles. In our studies, where we try to correlate the populations of microbes and the molecules they produce with the size and function of brain regions, it turns out that the brain reward system, the basal ganglia, and the nucleus accumbens are the ones that show the best correlations with microbial communities. So I would not rule out that at some point we'll be able to demonstrate that the gut microbes can motivate us to do and eat things that are best for their own well-being. So this is where some articles that I've read basically are questioning whether we really have free will or not. Is it us who's actually dictating our lives, or is it the gut bacteria that we have in our gut? Who's in charge here? What's going on? Okay, and do we really have free will? Now, it also turns out that bacteria produce GABA. Now, according to although correlations have been noted between the composition of the gut microbiome and behavioral conditions, especially autism, neuroscientists are only now starting to understand how gut bacteria may influence the brain. According to Dr. Mazmanian, a microbiologist at the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena, the immune system almost certainly plays a part, as does the vagus nerve, which connects the brain to the digestive tract. Bacterial waste products can also influence the brain. For example, at least 2 types of intestinal bacterium produce a neurotransmitter called gamma-aminobutyric acid, or otherwise known as GABA, and this is the calming neurotransmitter as it's known. The microbiome is likely to have its greatest impact on the brain early in life, says pharmacologist Dr. Cryan at University College Cork in Ireland. His group found that mice born by cesarean section, which hosted different microbes from mice born vaginally, were significantly more anxious and had symptoms of depression. The animal's inability to pick up their mother's vaginal microbes during birth, the first bacteria that they would normally encounter, may cause lifelong changes in mental health, he says. Similarly, a 2013 study from Mazmanian's lab found that a mouse model with some features of autism had much lower levels of a common gut bacterium called Bacteroides fragilis than did normal mice. The animals were also stressed, antisocial, and had gastrointestinal symptoms often seen in autism. Feeding, B. fragilis or Bacteroides fragilis to the mice reversed the symptoms. The group also found that the mice with these symptoms had higher levels of a bacterial metabolite called 4-ethylphenyl sulfate, or 4-EPS, in their blood, and that injecting that chemical into normal mice caused the same behavioral problems. Okay? So what can we do? Actually, we can also reduce the body's reaction to stress by restoring healthy gut flora. Probiotics increase GABA, a big component of the brain's calming ability. It's been shown to promote calmness in the brain and to increase when we consume probiotics. Additionally, good gut bacteria also helps the brain's receptiveness to GABA. This is one of the most strongest links to feeling good and solving mood issues that take place when you're stressed out. Although it's not the end-all and be-all, it's surely something to investigate and understand how powerful the gut really is when it comes to dictating what our brains and therefore we do. So again, the question arises, who's in charge, us or the microbiome? So based on what we've covered today, it is safe to say that as long as we have a strong body, we exercise, we eat appropriate whole foods, have a varied and vigorous gut microbiome, we will also have a clear, calm, and efficient mind and a healthy and long life. Quote, a sound mind in a sound body, end quote, is the English translation of a famous quotation by the pre-Socratic Greek philosopher Thales, otherwise known as Miletus, 624-546 BC. And this demonstrates the close link between physical exercise, mental equilibrium, and the ability to enjoy life. This is also given as a quotation from Kemal Ataturk in the Knowledge Book. A sound mind in a sound body. So as long as we have good, healthy flora, good, healthy microbiome, a very varied microbiome, as long as we exercise, as long as we eat the proper amounts of food, then we will definitely have a clear mind, a calm mind, and be able to live a happy and peaceful life. Now, why is the emphasis in the Knowledge Book on the health? According to the previous sacred text, we are to integrate with the moral code by following the prescribed guidelines. So, based on, when we look at the Tibetan text, the Vedas, when we look at the Bible, when we look at the New Testament, when we look at the Old Testament, each one of those had certain prescribed practices. Each one of them had certain things that we needed to do at a particular time, at a particular place, in a particular way. And our objective and the book's objective at that time was to actually integrate whatever that book was telling us to do into ourselves, so that we merged with the ideas and the concepts and prescriptions that is given in those books. But in the Knowledge Book, besides love, why do we hear so much about attaining and having a healthy body in the medium? So in other words, the Knowledge Book emphasizes good health, it emphasizes taking care of our body, emphasizes the type of food we should be eating, the kind of exercise, not the kind of exercise, but the fact that we do exercise every day, the fact that we need to have a healthy body, not to eat too much, not to drink too much. All of that is emphasized in the Knowledge Book. Why? And why all of a sudden are we having all kinds of information in the media about health? If you look at YouTube channels, if you look at TV, if you look at movies, if you look at anything, if you look at the media, there is emphasis on good health and how to get it. It may be confusing because some of them may be contradicting each other. However, the talk is about being healthy. So why does the Knowledge Book and why does the media actually emphasize being healthy and having a healthy body? So the Knowledge Book specifically says, once and time again, the importance of eating right, not neglecting our daily walks and calisthenics, and having a strong and healthy physical body. Well, the answer is actually given in the Knowledge Book specifically. It is given clearly and succinctly in Fascicle Supplement 7 on page 1059. 1. The external forms present in the dimension of crude matter are bodies prepared for the evolution of humanity. 2. The triumphs of the morrows are to transfer these crude matter forms to unknown dimension without being detrimental to their atomic tissues. So this is the goal, this is the purpose why we have a strong body. We have a strong body so that we can actually evolve and live long enough to evolve and eventually to be able to go into unknown dimensions that we still don't know about, however that exists, and for us to be able to be transferred to those dimensions without hurting our bodies, without being disintegrated. And again, on page 71 in the Knowledge Book, as far as our evolution goes, it states, I quote, "In every period you will experience everything in the world, both with its bitter and sweet aspects. You will have frustrations, you will have revolts, but if you do not ever lose your essence of love amidst all this, then it means that you are a genuine human," end quote. So what is evolution? Our evolution is progressing through our life path, through our life, our plan of destiny, through all the experiences that we go through for us to be able to go through actually spiritual enlightenments through the experiences that we go through, and are able then to evolve and go from A to B and be able to go through and to different dimensions. So, again, I will repeat, in order to evolve, we need to go through experiences that allow us to gain spiritual insights and maturity. We need strong bodies to live long enough to successfully accomplish our plan of destiny for the current lifetime. When we wear out our bodies due to excesses, we die before we succeed, and basically we wasted life that was given to us at that particular point in time. The healthier we are, the more time we have to fully complete the final period of the 8,000 years, 6,000 years with the spiritual and the sacred texts, and 2,000 years with the Knowledge Book allocated to the education and training of humanity in order for humankind to become genuine humans. So, we are now in the closing part of the 8,000 years designated for the evolution of humanity, for the salvation of humanity. So we've already gone through, or should have gone through, 6,000 years with the sacred texts. These are the meditation, the Far Eastern studies, the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. And now we're going through the next 2,000 years. We are now at the beginning of the next 2,000 years of evolution with the energies and frequencies of the Knowledge Book. And the entire purpose is for us to be able to go through this long education and training to be able to become genuine humans. And now it is time for a quick break. Let me remind you that you are listening to the Knowledge Book Radio with Marge Ptaszek, and to remind everyone that the United States Knowledge Book website is www.usa.theknowledgebook.net. My telephone number, cell phone number for questions and topics is 973-787-7035. And of course, my email address is mmjp99, Mary John Peter 99 @gmail.com. And when we come back, we will continue with the topic of today. Basically, we'll summarize what we've been covering so far, and we will see you when we come back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What is a brilliant culture, and how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you align your culture with your business strategy for exceptional results. Looking for a culture that drives organizational excellence? Listen to Cultural Brilliance Radio, the second and fourth Friday of each month at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit culturalbrilliance.com.
Is traditional medicine not working for you? Do you still feel as if your health isn't 100%? Here at the Holistic Medical Center, Dr. Nushin Darvish and the qualified staff look through the dimensions of wellness and start a healing plan prioritized to your needs. Our physicians assess the whole you until complete health is achieved. Get the help you need by visiting drdarvish.com or call 425-451-0404.
What is a brilliant culture, and how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you align your culture with your business strategy for exceptional results. Looking for a culture that drives organizational excellence? Listen to Cultural Brilliance Radio, the second and fourth Friday of each month at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit culturalbrilliance.com.
Are you ready to transform your life and embrace magical experiences? Talking to Tanis with your host Tanis McCrae is here to help you find your joy in life. Tune in live every first and third Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Let's awaken your experience and create the change necessary to take back your right to choose who you are. For more about Tanis, visit TalkingToTanis.com.
We remember a time when you could simply form a thought and it would manifest. The harmony was forgotten, but it is returning now. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Juliet Griffin on TransformationTalkRadio.com each second and fourth Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific. We'll take you on adventures through the heart and spirit, exploring who we once were. This intuitive healer studied under the guidance of wolves, learning from their wisdom to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Visit OneTrueSelf.com.
Back on Knowledge Book Radio with Marge Patazik on Transformation Talk Radio. And here's another reminder. Our website for the Knowledge Book website for the United States is www.usa.theknowledgebook.net. My cell phone number for questions and topics is 973-787-7035. Email address mmjp99@gmail.com, maryjohnpeter@gmail.com. Actually, the Call to Friendship website is www.calltofriendship.org. So what have we been covering? We've been covering the topic of a microbiome. And the microbiome, despite the fact that we've been taught to keep everything sterile, to keep things as clean as possible, to make sure that our hands are always washed, that we use antibacterial soap, that we sleep on antibacterial sheets, and that we even have antibacterial air filtering systems in cars so we get away from all those nasty germs out there. However, recently, more and more it has been shown, and is being shown, that the fact that we live in such a clean environment does not allow our immune system to develop to be a strong immune system, and that in fact the possibility that this very clean environment leads to allergies and actually leads to obesity. Now, we've covered various ways for us to be able to make sure that our gut microbes are strong and varied and that they're actually in good health. Because it is the amount and the number and the diversity of the microbiome that actually is the most important. And interestingly, also, every one of us has our own unique microbiome. It'll never be exactly the same as anybody else's. However, it is not at the point, or science is not at the point, where the microbiome can be used as an identification tool, just like our DNA and our fingerprints are used as an identification tool. However, what is being shown, and there is mounting evidence, that babies born by cesarean section do not possess the same kind of microbiome as those that are born vaginally. And right now, the amount of cesarean section births has skyrocketed. So it turns out that those children born through C-section do not have the complement of gut bacteria that is necessary to keep them calm, and they found that those individuals are more prone to disease, and those individuals also have a weakened immune system. I think also right now they're beginning to basically, those people who are born through C-section, what the doctors do is smear the vaginal fluid on the baby's face for the baby to actually be in contact with its first microbiome, so that it's close to having a regular vaginal birth. So you also covered what to do in order to have a strong microbiome. So number one, make sure that we eat whole foods, that we cook ourselves, and to make sure that we have high fiber foods. Make sure that we eat polyphenols and antioxidants, because these are the two that actually allow us to have strong microbiome. And some of the antioxidants and polyphenol foods are nuts, seeds, berries, olive oil, brassicas, cabbage, broccoli, etc., and also coffee and tea, especially green tea. We also are recommended to eat plenty of fermented foods. Foods like unsweetened yogurt, kefir, raw milk cheeses, sauerkraut, kimchi, which is a Korean fermented dish made from Napa cabbage, garlic, and chili, and soybean-based products like soy sauce, tempeh, and natto. We are recommended to not use artificial sweeteners because they're actually counterproductive. They actually kill those bacteria in our gut that basically the bacteria would have kept us thin and in good metabolic health. However, when we kill those bacteria, the artificial sweeteners actually allow us to become more obese and prone to diabetes. Okay. We also recommend to eat prebiotic foods. And prebiotic foods are those foods that contain a lot of fiber, that is non-digestible. And these are foods like bananas, onions, garlic, Jerusalem artichoke, apples, chicory root, beans, and many others. And these are foods where the fiber ferments in a large colon, and this process feeds beneficial bacteria. Okay? Of course, we need to eat as many fruits as possible, and these should be varied without any chemicals that are added onto them. Okay, and that actually allows us. Surprising find was that dark chocolate, it is the fiber in dark chocolate in the cocoa that actually is fermented in the large colon, and it produces byproducts. It produces enzymes. It produces products that helps our vascular system and actually helps in the metabolic regulation of our system. So it makes us more insulin sensitive, and it makes our arteries and veins healthier. Another way is to make sure that even if we don't live with animals like cats and dogs, that we spend time with those who do live with cats and animals, who are able then to pet animals or be in conjunction with animals, because that allows our microbiome to be more varied. Okay? So, and of course, we need to stay away as much as possible from antibiotics and non-essential medicines, because that again kills the bacteria as well as the bad bacteria, and it takes time to reestablish. So as long as you are doing everything right and keeping healthy, you won't be able to need the antibiotics. Now, of course, this whole microbiome is what is called the second brain, and the second brain, through 200 to 600,000 nerve connections, it has the potential to actually control what our brain is not able to control. So in other words, this is like an overriding brain. So no matter what our brain thinks or what our brain wants to do, the microbiome will be controlling whatever it is that we are doing. But now it is time to finish. So basically, if we follow the recommendations of the knowledge book, don't eat too much, just eat just enough to survive, eat the right foods, make sure that we take minerals on a daily basis, make sure that we eat varied foods, that we exercise and keep strong, we will be able to evolve and go through our plan of destiny and go finish up our evolution process, and therefore be candidates for going to unknown dimensions that we still don't know about and that do exist. And that's the entire purpose. So let me just say that if you would like to go to a focal point, please look at the website, www.usa.theknowledgebook.net. Please contact me with any questions or topics at 973-787-7035. And email address is mmjp99@gmail.com. This is all the time that we have been. Thank you for those who have sent questions and comments and topics. So please do join me every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time on the Knowledge Book Radio with Marge Ptaszek. Thank you. Until next time. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Knowledge Book Radio with Marge Ptaszek. Marge was led to the Knowledge Book, a gift to humanity, and its time of transition to the Golden Age that provided the truth and energies and frequencies. Now, she shares information from and answers questions about the Knowledge Book with you each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information, visit Marge at usa.theknowledgebook.net.